Pierce Park in your district, you know?
Did you do that with a green screen or?
No, I searched Google Images for Walter Pierce Park,
Ah,
or maybe Adams Morgan even, but it's something that's available on the internet.
huh. Well, it's very classy.
Thank you. Let's see.
Who do we have here?
And if I get fired up at these meetings, sometimes I switch to this one.
You know, that actually looks like you're about to get attacked.
I think the last meeting when I left, I said, I've got to go walk the cat. And then, of course, we mourn the face-to-face Adams Morgan days.
Yes. Yeah, I was just reading the email on that.
I worry that too many people are going to show up just out of habit.
I don't know. It's it as with everything, it will be interesting to see what happens with it. But
Is that a bid organized thing normally?
No, there's a separate nonprofit, mainly Adams Morgan residents who volunteer their time to do this. The bid is helpful. They contribute street cleaning. They have their clean team come early and, you know, tidy up after us, and occasionally found some money to help underwrite the operation. And they do help. They're very helpful with publicity too. And of course, Gordon, it's a big plus for the bid members. The restaurants rake in a lot more money on Adams Morgan Day. One year, Roofers Union gave wristbands to people who entered the facility just so they could keep track of, you know, who was over 18. And during the course of Adams Morgan Day, they handed out 1,000 wristbands. So that's a lot of people going through the 3 floors of their restaurant.
yeah, I'm surprised Abra didn't nab them for having a bar crawl or something with wristbands.
Well, they kept it inside. Japer, you're on twice. Well, there's your Nick Rowland persona is on as well.
Might actually be Nick Rowland.
Right.
I think I more than think he went to go visit his mom in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll be quarantining and we'll be getting COVID tests soon.
Yeah.
In this house.
I recommend the drive-through in Anacostia. It was little used when Linda and I went through, and quite safe and efficient.
Yeah, I went and got tested in Ward 6. We biked over there. And it was really quick. There were maybe about 10 people in line, and we got our tests back in like a day or 36 hours or something. I highly suggest everyone going and getting tested when it's, if it's convenient, definitely go and get tested.
Are they not doing it over at the Lanier Street Firehouse anymore?
I think they rotate, but I went to the one on Ward 6. And I know that they did the fire station on U Street. That was also a site. But yeah.
I was thinking that Amir had said that he'd used the Lanier one, which seems like the most convenient, but.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Severe thunderstorm watch until midnight.
Yeah, I heard there might be tornadoes.
Uh,
We know what that's like, huh, Ted?
yeah. It's been a horrible year. The stuff that's coming back from Iowa from that derecho was just awful.
Yeah, did you have any family? that was
Yeah,
impacted?
none of them that had anything worse than electricity out and
Mhm.
big limbs down, but no one who had real problems.
Well, that's good to hear.
Uh, okay, 1, 2, 3.
Amir literally emailed me like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened.
Is he in the is he in the
I don't see him in the non.
He's not in the room yet.
Okay. How's everyone doing tonight? Great, great. So thank you all for coming to the ANC 1C meeting for September. My name is Amir Irani. I'm chair of the commission. I'd like to start with my fellow commissioners introducing themselves. So let's start seeing that 1C08 is not here yet. Let's start with 1C07. Commissioner Bowles.
Hello, my name is Japer Bowles, and I'm the commissioner for 1C07, which is the west part of the Reed Coke neighborhood and the one block of Lanier between Joseph's house and Phil's Coffee.
Commissioner Dendy.
Hi, I'm Damiana. I am commissioner for 1C05, the northernmost district.
And Commissioner Zatolo. You are muted, Commissioner Zatoli.
There we go. The host just unmuted me. Can you hear me now, Chair?
Yes, I hear you.
1C04, Linear Heights, and including Walter Pierce Park, which is behind me this evening.
Love the background.
Thank you.
Commissioner Guthrie.
Yeah, Ted Guthrie, 1C03, which is 18th to 19th, Biltmore to Wyoming.
And that leaves me. I'm 1C01. That's the southwest corner of Adams Morgan. So moving on to the reports. So I don't have anything to report. However, I do have a few announcements, and I'll hold off on those for now. And our secretary doesn't appear to be on just yet. So I know he's traveling right now, so he might be quite a bit late if he makes it at all. So Commissioner Bowles, our treasurer, would you like to give the report?
Yeah, certainly. Okay, so for the treasurer's report, we currently have $17,748 in the bank. The big things that came out this past month, RCNA's grant for $4,000 cleared, as well as a minimal FedEx payments of like $58. And then we had Mary, and then the employment taxes for the previous quarter for her. And then I also expect a disbursement before our next meeting, so look forward to that. And that is all I have in the treasurer's department.
Okay.
I do have chair things and ANC things, though. Do you want Ted to go?
Let's do announcements and committee meeting agendas next.
Okay.
So why don't we start with you, since you're ready?
All right. So for the public, for the PSNE committee, which will be September 23rd, we'll be discussing grants. We have 3 applications for grants, including Platform of Hope, Adams Morgan Day, as well as Jubilee Housing. So we will be discussing those, and I will be keeping the commissioners up to date on our vetting process until those dates. And then I would also like to request folks from the Parks and Rec to see what is going to happen with Ann Hargrove. I know that there's been a lot of folks that have repeatedly requested information and seeing if those funds that were previously allocated, if they've been dispersed or not, or if they have been, what's happened to it. So we will have folks from DPR discussing what will be going on with the Ann Hargrove Park. And I wanted to bring this up to the commission. I know that there's been a lot of folks discussing people at Unity Park, whether that be with like public urination or public intoxication. And I wanted to discuss to see if there was a possibility of doing maybe a brief discussion with this with the police at the ABC meeting next week, but also take a deeper dive at the PSNE committee. That way we can try to find workable solutions, whether that be better infrastructure for the possibilities for public restrooms, or working out agreements with local businesses or the local teams that do cleaning, whatever it is, a community-based solution. So I think it would be great to hear from the police, to hear and see what their observations are, but also discuss it at my committee on September 23rd to see what additionally we can do as a community to ensure that folks that are in the heat and that are in the weather are able to go into a restroom when need be, because I know that that's always a difficult issue, but is specifically hard right now in the COVID world. So that is all on my, that's on my list. Oh, and there's a voter registration drive on September 16th, and that is sponsored by Jubilee Seniors and the Reed Cook Neighborhood Association. And the mayor's folks will be out there handing out t-shirts and all types of stuff. It'll be at Unity Park from 12 o'clock to 4 p.m. So make sure to be out there and encourage folks to register to vote if you haven't already. And I'll be putting things in the chat on how to register to vote and things like that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Bowles. Commissioner Dendy, announcements?
Nothing that pertains to my district, but just in case people didn't hear, there's a national eviction moratorium for the end of the year. So if anyone is struggling, like me, you know, we can stay in our homes. So that's my whole announcement. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Dendy. It's important info. Commissioner Zatoli.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to remind everybody about the options we have for voting in the fall. On election day, not all the precincts are going to be open, but we will be able to vote at H.D. Cook School and the Marie Reed facility. But they're going to be limited staffing and long lines. So I would encourage everybody either go to the early voting center. The closest one to us would be at the Columbia Heights, the Girard Street Rec Center, Community Center. And even better than that, when the Board of Elections sends you a ballot in the mail, just fill it out and send it in. That'll be the least stress on the system. And we should be getting those vote by mail ballots on they're going to mail them out, I'm told, somewhere between October 5th and October 9th. So in the early October, look for that ballot. When you get it, either drop it in the mail, or there'll also be a drop box the Board of Election staffs at the SunTrust Plaza right there at 18th and Columbia. So try to avoid voting on election day if you can. It'll be a mess. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Zatoli. Commissioner Guthrie.
Yeah, I had thought that we'd heard that the Hilton was also going to be a site for early voting for people on this side of the neighborhood. Does anyone know anything about that?
I'll check for you, Ted, and maybe we can put something in the minutes.
I don't think that it, I think that that was on the highest list, but I don't think that it actually worked out.
Ah, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The only thing I have to announce is public service, or excuse me, the ABC and Public Safety Committee meeting will have the police officers present, we hope, and able to field questions about what, if anything, can be done from a police perspective as far as Unity Park. And also, we've had some concerns expressed by folks about enforcement of masks on streets. I haven't been out much, but from what I've seen, most of the people who are on the street in transit seem to be doing pretty well with having masks on. But what I've heard is there's a fair number of people, particularly in the evenings, on the weekends, along 18th, that aren't. And my understanding is that the police aren't enforcing the mask rules, but perhaps we can get a little clearer picture from the police at the public safety meeting.
Great. And that public safety meeting is next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay. And Commissioner Bowles, the PS&E meeting, is that still scheduled for the third Wednesday?
Fourth Wednesday?
Fourth Wednesday, sorry.
Yes. And that is the 23rd, correct? Or did I say give the wrong date? That's
No,
what I
that is
asked.
the 23rd.
Okay.
At 7 p.m. And
Correct.
details will be at anc1c.org. So I have a couple of announcements. I'll start with a vote announcement because I want to drive that point home. And you can go to dcboe.org to remember that you don't have to request an absentee ballot. Everyone received a mail-in ballot at their registered address. As Commissioner Zatoli mentioned, if there's a change in your address, then fill out that form and send it back. You can always confirm your registration status by going to dcboe.org. And then also the locations. So what we have are ballot drop boxes before the election. And in Adams Morgan, the ballot drop box at SunTrust Plaza will be available starting October 5th. And that's just 24 hours. So you can just drop in your ballot there. And then the two locations that are within half a mile of Adams Morgan are H.D. Cook Elementary and Marie Reed. So you can go vote there on November 3rd itself. But if you can, please drop your ballot in the drop box at SunTrust Plaza. So also a couple of other announcements that's also very important is the census. So 2020census.gov, please go in to that site. If you have your 12-digit census ID, great. If you don't, you can still take the census. So just visit 2020census.gov. The district self-response rate is just under 62%, and the national self-response rate is just over 65%. So we're a little lagging as compared to the national self-response rate. So please do your part and take part in the census. This determines a lot of federal funding, among other things. A couple of other announcements. Adams Morgan Day is going to be held virtually this year, and there will be so that's going to be on September 13th. You can visit admoday.com to check out more. There will be my understanding is that adjacent to Calorama Park, there's going to be an AU humanities truck there offering viewings of photos and info on area history and other cultural activities. So that'll be adjacent to Calorama Park. The Adams Morgan Day Community Alliance is going to get a permit for a couple of parking spots to park a truck there. And then for the week prior to Adams Morgan Day, and I think running a full week after, there's going to be a mural scavenger hunt. So you can find out all this and check out the specials that the businesses in Adams Morgan are offering at admoday.com. And the last announcement I have is that the Office of Campaign Finance is going to be holding a debate for the candidates of the at-large DC Council. And you can find out more about that debate at ocf.dc.gov. And that debate is going to, a specific date hasn't been announced, but I think it's around the end of the month. So moving on to public announcements. Let's try to limit this to 2 minutes a person.
Yeah, go ahead and start with Kristen.
Kristen, please.
Hi, everyone. It's Kristen Barden with the Adams Morgan Partnership. How's everyone doing? Looks like it's about to get, the weather's supposed to get really bad. So I'll try to keep this brief. But a couple things to tell you about. We've been working with DHS to get a porta-john placed in public space. And it looks like the best location that Safeway agrees to, because we wanted to put it fairly close to the folks that gather at Unity Park, is just behind Safeway in the alley right up against their building. So I don't have a date yet for when that will be installed, but that's what we've been working on really since about April. When things started to get bad with the pandemic. So we're really pleased finally that the city is stepping up and is going to do something. So, and then the second thing I wanted to tell folks about is Art All Night this year is going virtual, and they're encouraging all bids and Main Street groups across the city to participate. So of course we are, and we're encouraging businesses and artists to submit their ideas. And I can share the link in the chat to do that. But it's going to be 2 weeks long. It will overlap with the week-long Adams Morgan Day activities. So there'll be, double for your money that third week of September, and then it's also running the fourth week of September. So it's a really unique opportunity to showcase local artists.
Okay. Thank you, Kristen. Peter Wood.
Hi. So I'll be really brief, but just because it's election season and I'm one of the candidates for the 1C3 position, many of the new candidates and I are in the midst of organizing a kind of virtual Meet the Candidates event. The specific details aren't finalized. We're aiming for the 23rd around 7 p.m. Not positive. If anyone's interested in attending, we'll be publicizing a few different ways. You can also get a hold of me through my website and email that I'm about to post, but hopefully we can get people out, or in, I guess, and just get a little bit more exposure for some of the new people, and just to kind of get people to get to know what we're looking to run on for our platforms. That's all.
Thanks, Peter. Alangambrell.
Hi, thank you. I appreciate the work of ANC in providing a forum for the neighborhood issues. However, this bond of openness and listening was recently violated, which is really what I want to talk about briefly. This is difficult for me to bring up, but I think it's necessary. Over the past year, a number of Lanier Heights residents, they became concerned about zoning regulation violations in a proposed row house conversion. And they worked pretty hard over several months to provide information to everyone. Here's what neighbors did. They hired a zoning expert to work with DCRA. They met with the zoning administrator in person to discuss their concerns. They sent emails and documentation to the ANC 1C commissioners. They prepared a draft resolution with the assistance of Commissioner Zottoli to seek the ANC support for the appeal to go before the Board of Zoning Adjustment. And after all that work, on August 5th, the ANC voted to support the appeal on a 5-2 vote. That, of course, is the way it should work. Open dialogue, sharing of information. However, Commissioner Bowles chose another path. On August 4, the day before the August 5 ANC meeting to discuss the resolution I just mentioned, Commissioner Bowles wrote the following tweet. Imagine what people who spend so much time debating, lobbying against 6 feet being added to a new development could do if they focused their energy on, say, more COVID-19 pandemic relief, breaking down systemic and structural racism, feeding the hungry, fighting climate disaster. And then on August 5th, during the ANC meeting to consider the zoning appeal, Commissioner Bowles said nothing, asked no questions, made no comments, but once again, he turned to Twitter during the ANC meeting, and he wrote the following: NIMBY meeting from hell. And he added, all I can think of is all the energy, time, focus, money commenting on a project that they think, incorrectly I might add, will be 6 feet too tall in their downzoned neighborhood. What would this world look like without NIMBYism? As for these tweets by Commissioner Bowles, I'll state the obvious. There's a clear disdain for residents, a disregard for the zoning rules, a really appalling presumption that Commissioner Bowles knows what residents care about, or that he should be telling them what their priorities should be. Commissioner Bowles, I'm not raising this to try and cancel you. I'm no fan of the mean and thoughtless social media cancel culture. And normally I would take my concerns to you directly in a non-public setting. But you have chosen a public venue to disparage your constituents. So it seems right to speak up in this public forum, as uncomfortable as this is. So what's my goal? It's a simple request. Commissioner Bowles, you are clearly capable and you put the time in, but you can and you should do much better. So I ask, listen, be open-minded, ask questions. Your job and this community deserve nothing less.
Okay. Thank you, Alan. Commissioner Bowles, if you have, okay, let's move on. Allie from Councilmember Nadeau's office.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great. My name is Allie Bobak. I'm the Constituent Services Coordinator for Councilmember Brianne Nadeau, your Ward 1 council member who, if you all didn't see on Twitter, welcomed a new Ward 1 constituent to the ward this week. I have a few announcements. The first is that it is the end of recess. So it's the council's last week of recess, which means we will resume virtual hearings and roundtables starting next week. Committees are beginning to announce hearing dates, so definitely be sure to visit dccouncil.us. For example, I know there's one on unemployment insurance, which I know is a concern of many members of this ANC. We are at the end of council period 23, so we typically see quite a few legislations up for votes. Any legislation introduced in 2019 or 2020 that has not been passed by the council by the end of the year would need to be reintroduced next council period. I had quite a few elections about general elections, but I think this wonderful group of commissioners really, covered most of it. But again, I will put my contact information in the chat and I will say it at the end, just in case anybody wants to reach out to me directly. And Commissioner Rani, you also had mentioned the census, which was my last announcement. So just a reminder for the community, your Ward 1 Council office is here to serve. I'm your constituent services kind of person for ANC 1C. So my direct line is 202-531-5186. And my email is abobak, ABOBAK, @dccouncil.us. Please feel free to reach out with any concerns. And with regard to email, just want to highlight that council emails have been getting caught in people's spam filters. So if you reach out to us, we really try to get back to people within a day, longest 2 or 3 days. So do check your spam filters if you reach out to our office and do not hear back by email. That is all my announcements, but of course here for any questions if any commissioners or members of the public had questions for me.
Thank you, Allie. There is a question with the recent incident in LA where a man was killed by police after attempting to stop him for a traffic code violation. I renew my request for council to remove the new rear light requirement from the Vision Zero omnibus bill. If the council is truly concerned about people riding bikes without lights, work with WABA and other local organizations to get lights for them. So that's from a resident. Is there anything you'd like to say that, or perhaps you would just like to note that for the council member?
Yep, definitely happy to bring that back to the council member. And again, I will post my contact information. That resident should always feel free to email me directly so I can just forward all the information directly to the council member.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Sally. Oh, that's Mary. I see you have your hand up. Okay. Mary, I assume you just had your hand up because you wanted to let us know that you were there. So you've now been promoted to panel.
Wait, me, Mary? I don't think I had my hand up, did I?
I think you did. Yeah.
If it was a mistake, sorry.
Ah, okay. All right.
Put my hand down. Bye.
Okay, so let's move on to the consent agenda, and then we have a presentation from a few folks at PEPCO. So there's one item listed on the consent agenda, approve the August meeting minutes. However, I want to add another item to the consent agenda, and it is to place all of the items that are listed on our regular agenda onto the agenda for tonight. And I know this sounds like it's a little bit of a procedural item because we gave a 9-day notice, and our bylaws require a 10-day notice for the items that are on our regular agenda. So I want, instead of starting each item on the regular agenda with a vote, I want to hit them all with one vote here on the consent agenda. So I'd like to add each of the items to our that are listed on our regular agenda to the agenda tonight. So I'd like to place that on the consent agenda. Do I have?
You need to have some sort of articulation of the basis for them being on the agenda, despite the fact that we didn't have adequate notice.
That it's in the interest of the community that we hear these items tonight. So that's why I'm placing them on the agenda. Thank you, Commissioner Guthrie. So do I need a second? Do I have a second?
I'm not sure you need a second on the consent agenda, but
okay.
Go ahead.
Better to
you got a second anyway.
Better to have it than be challenged later. So thank you, Commissioner Zatoli. So that's now on the consent agenda. So each of the items that are on our regular agenda tonight, the approval of having those items on our regular agenda tonight, because it's in the interest of the community that we hear it tonight, despite the 9-day notice instead of the 10-day notice that is required by our bylaws. So that item And the August meeting minutes are on our consent agenda. So commissioners, all in favor of the of passing those two items on our consent agenda, please indicate so by saying aye.
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 Any against? Any abstentions? All right, that very awkward consent agenda items have been passed. Okay, so moving to our regular agenda. We have a few people from PEPCO that want to discuss the program to replace an underground cable with a newer cable. So let me just, Trevoris and a few others. All right, so Tim, Trevoris, and Daryl.
If it there is a Ted Tesseri and then Verone Hadley.
And
as
Verone,
well.
yeah, also there. Yeah, Daryl, Tim, and Verone. So go ahead. You have the floor.
All right, thank you very much. And is there an opportunity to share my screen as well?
Yes, absolutely. Gordon.
Promoting him to panelist right now.
Okay.
It looks like he dropped off the call completely just then.
Yeah, I can see that.
Was it Trevoris who dropped off, or?
Yeah, Trevoris.
He just popped back on, so let's let's get him back here to panelist and have him show the screen. Trevoris, are you there?
Yes, thank you. I'm here. Okay, let me see. Start my video. Should I? Okay. Oh. Okay, can you guys see me?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm so sorry. I got kicked off by mistake. I have a presentation that I'm trying to load up. It's okay, I see it right here. Share screen. And can you guys see my screen?
No.
No, we cannot.
There we go.
Okay. Thank you all very much for allowing us to come back before you to talk about the cable project that we have. I know that we've mentioned it a few times in the community comments and other community meetings earlier this summer. And we have a few members of our team that are going to talk specifically about that project. So I just wanted to thank the commission, thank Mr. Amir Irani, and also the other commissioners on the part of ANC 1C that have allowed us to come back before you to talk specifically about this project. And it is a reliability project, which will allow us to replace aging infrastructure that really is servicing the areas within ANC 1C. We did have a project similarly. We did start this project in Mount Pleasant neighborhood along Hobart and Irving Street, and also Mount Pleasant Road. I don't know if you guys have seen a lot of that construction that was taking place, but this was what we were doing, and it was actually replacing aging cable that needs to be replaced, and also enlarging manholes associated with this work. And so the way we deliver energy to your home is that we procure it from an outside source, either through a power plant, solar, or wind, and it is stepped down at a substation, but it's transmitted through transmission lines and then stepped down at a substation, and then it's distributed to your home either overhead or underground. And a lot of the distribution system in your particular area is underground, which means that in order for us to upgrade those facilities, there does need to be construction associated with this project. And that really is the impetus for the power cable replacement project. And it is a 10-year project across the district to replace secondary underground cable. And what this will do is will increase the capacity as well as increase the reliability and safety of the underground power distribution system. It will also replace aged power cables with newer rubber lead power cables. And then again, of course, provide greater reliability for the neighborhood in the future. And when we talk about secondary underground cable, this is actually the cable that is supplying power to your home. So it's not necessarily feeding your home, but it's the secondary cable that's actually bringing that energy to your respective areas for you to receive the service that you have. So it's very important that we replace a lot of this aging infrastructure from the distribution side of the house now, so that you do have that reliable service. And I just wanted to show you a picture of some of the old cable that is currently in the ground. It sort of looks a little bit like this. As you can see, we've maintained it very well over the years. But the type of cable that is in the ground, we do know that it does need to be replaced. As you can see, it's very aged, and we'll be replacing it with a newer cable that will allow for greater reliability in the future. Primarily, a lot of this work that you'll see taking place, it actually starting next week and throughout the remaining of the year, will be in the areas highlighted below. So we'll be installing about 1,800 feet of conduit, and then also enlarging or putting in about 17 new manholes in the area. A lot of the work will take place along Summit Place, 18th Street, Ontario Road, Lanier Place, and then Columbia Road as well, in Adams Morgan. And then some of the manholes that we'll be installing, they will be on the street as well as on the sidewalk as well. So I know you saw a lot of the manholes that are on the sidewalk. Some of those we will be enlarging to accommodate this work. And as you can see, the little dots that are in the perforated areas represent the manholes that will actually be enlarging as a part of this project. And so the areas that are indicated in red is where you will see construction. So it won't be all throughout the Lanier Heights area, but it will be in certain pockets. And we did take a survey of the area and do realize some of the streets are one way, and then some of them are narrow, so it will be some impacts to parking as well as traffic flow. But these are primarily the areas where we'll be focus on the construction. And then going to the next page, it just sort of is a closer view of where the actual manholes will be installed along the areas. So as you can see on Summer Place, if you look here, these indicate that there will be manhole replacements on the sidewalk. Of course, there will be some on the street, but there will be, manhole replacements closest to the sidewalk in a lot of these areas. And this is just a close-up view. And then here on Columbia Road, a lot of the replacement will be actually in the street. And then as you can see on Ontario Road, here are the manholes that will be along the side, along the street as well. It's just a close-up view. And then if you get to Lanier Heights and then another portion of Ontario Road, you will see that there will be manhole installations on Lanier Place in the street, and then some on Ontario Road along the sidewalk as well. And this is a picture of the Hobart Street, Irving Street area where we did execute a lot of this work. And just wanted to show you a picture of one of the manholes and give you an idea of where you will see this work occurring in your neighborhood. So this is a manhole that we did enlarge on Hobart Street, I believe. And so that did require us to do some excavation. And as you can see, some of the manholes are very close to a lot of neighbors' homes. So we did have to work with the community to make sure that they had access in and out of their home. We did ask neighbors to, if at all possible, use the back to go in and out of your home while work is occurring. And we will be asking neighbors in the Lanier Heights, Adams Morgan area to do the same. If possible, but we definitely will be working with you to make sure that, if you have any deliveries or things like that, that we should be aware of, we definitely want to be aware of that so that we can accommodate as best as possible. So we will be phasing the work. It won't be done all at once, but we will be having several crews working in the area staggered throughout the remaining, starting next week and throughout the remaining of the year, where we'll be installing these manholes and then doing the conduit in the street as well. And now we're going to get into the specific construction activity, and I'll turn it over to Tim Bew, who is for this project, and he'll also be joined by a few others, including Mr. Verone Hadley, who's with Stealth Construction, and they're the contractor that'll be doing a lot of the work. He's managing those crews, and then we also have another representative who's part of the operations team, Mr. Dave Tessiri as well, who will be speaking as well. So Tim, I'll turn it over to you.
Hey there, thank you, Trevorus and ANC team. My first time to be in one of your meetings in this area. I'm grateful for this opportunity to share with you about this project. Let's face it, a lot of those cables are just decades old, and the conduit and manholes that those cables run through are also, just decades old, and so it's time to replace them. We need your help in helping us to be able to have access to those streets and sidewalks, and then we'll help you out in providing many decades of good, reliable power in the future. So thanks for bearing with us as we come on into the neighborhood and install this this cable. First up, we will be installing new conduit and then enlarging 17 manholes and installing one additional manhole in that area. We've got a very good, reliable contractor who's been working with us for many years, Stealth Construction, who is going to be the main people out there in the street doing this work for us. And we're very grateful to be partnering with Stealth Construction. And then our team from our construction management group, Daryl Fitzgerald and Dave Tessiri, will also be out there overseeing our projects as we go. If you could please briefly, Veron, share a little bit more about your details in those 4 areas. We could go on to the next slide.
Certainly, Tim. Thank you so much. And as mentioned, my name is Veron Hadley, operations manager and project management for our DC division.
Hey, Veron, I hate to interrupt you, but could you get a little bit closer to your microphone?
Sure. Absolutely. So as mentioned, my name is Veron Hadley, operations manager and for project management at Stealth Construction. And just really echoing the sentiments of Tim, we thank you very much, the ANC, giving us this opportunity to let you know about some of the construction activities that we'll be doing. So as you can see with this slide, our first location that we'll be getting our construction is at Summit Place in 18th Street Northwest. And that's going to begin on September 10th. And it's slated to continue through November 2020. The red lines that you see represent the vicinity of the work that we will be performing during that time period. You can go to the next slide, please. After we finish there at Summit and 18th, we'll be headed over to Columbia Road Northwest, and the duration is from October 2020 to December 2020. And as in the previous slide, the red line there shows you an approximate vicinity of where our work will take place. The next slide, thank you. Third will be the Ontario Road Northwest location. And in fact, Columbia and Ontario will be worked concurrently. This section taking a little longer than that of the previous, but from October to 2020 to December 2020, you'll see us and our crews in the field at this location. And once again, the red line represents our area of work. And then finally there at the Lanier Place in Ontario Road, from November to January 2021, you'll see our stealth construction crews there working in the red areas. So to kind of encapsulate everything that's been mentioned, our construction activities are from September 10th to November in Summit Place. October and December, you'll see us in Columbia Road and also in Ontario Place. And November to January 2021, we'll be completing our construction activity of manhole and conduit construction in Lanier Place. As mentioned by one of the slides that were shown, some of our dear neighbors will be impacted by the sidewalk manholes, but certainly with not impeding your day-to-day activities. Our crews are standing ready and willing to certainly do all we can to accommodate the needs of those within the Adams Morgan Lanier Heights community if they need to get to their homes and so as not to impede their day-to-day activities. But as you can see here for Summit Place, 18th Street, Columbia, Ontario, and Lanier Place, our addresses where after doing our pre-construction walks and analysis, these are some of the homes that we will be working in close proximity with. So we'll certainly be exercising care to respect property and doing our best so as not to disrupt much of your day-to-day activity.
Hey, thank you very much, Veron. I'll just try to quickly wrap it up. I know we've taken a little bit of your time. Thank you. A couple of items. This is the bulk of the construction. However, as we head into the winter, it is possible that the restoration, primarily the paving and the concrete, if we get into a scenario where the weather's too cold for that concrete and the paving to cure well, then we may need to come back in the spring to finish up all of the paving and the concrete. Our goal is to finish up between this year and January, but if the weather persists in a manner, we might have to go into the spring to do some of that. But during that whole time, we'll have down temporary paving or temporary covers there to make sure that everything's safe. And during the permitted hours, there will be a few of the addresses that unfortunately we're going to be blocking that walkway for a few of those hours. And we're grateful to Stealth, our team that will work closely with the residents to help them have access as best we can while keeping the construction area safe. So thanks again for this opportunity to share this with your team.
And this is just really quickly just showing what you will expect to see in the area. So when they talk about excavating and putting in the conduit, these are some of the vehicles that you may see in the work areas that sort of look a little bit like this. This is what we've done in the past along Hobart Street in Irvington. And then you will see crews that will be actually building a trench to actually put in the conduit, which will look a little bit like this. So this is the trench that they'll be using. This is the trench they'll be building to put in the conduit, as you can see here. And then here is what one of the manholes in the street that they'll be enlarging. So a lot of digging deep to actually install that manhole. And then of course, with restoration work, once the weather is permitting, we will be restoring the road, of course, back to its original condition. And so this is what you may see once that weather is, once the weather is, permitted. So again, we do want to keep residents updated every step of the way with this project. So we want to share information, on listservs as well as directly communicate with residents. I know that there was a letter that was sent that residents should have received. We also put notification on Nextdoor, and then contacted some of the apartment complexes that will be directly impacted, like the Ontario as well as the Crescent as well. So we have made contact with some of the large apartment complexes. And then we do want to host a separate meeting later this month, or the end of September, beginning of October, just to make sure that we're updating the residents and getting their information and getting feedback from them. So my information is below. So if there's any questions or concerns from residents, please do have them contact me directly. My email address is tculpep@pepco.com. And then my direct number is 202-872-2024. I try to be as responsive. Well, I am, you will get a response. And we, definitely do take that feedback very seriously. We do understand it's going to be very impactful because of the one way. Just to let you all know that we have shared this with D.PSRD earlier this summer, the Public Space Committee. And so they are aware that this project is taking place. And so, we just definitely want to make sure that we're in partnership with the community as we execute this work. And we'll send you also 3 look-aheads as well, or information relating to the project that can be shared with neighbors in the area as well. So that concludes the presentation, and happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you, Trevoris and the team at Pepco for presenting that. I'll start with questions from commissioners. I see we have a question from Zach. In the audience. So go ahead, Zach.
Sure. I don't want to jump ahead of any commissioners if they have questions, but if not, I have a few.
Go ahead, please.
Sure. First, thank you all. Obviously, it's important to replace everything you're replacing, and thanks for that work. I had a few questions. One was about the coordination with DDOT. You mentioned that public space was informed, but some of these streets, including the intersection of 18th and Summit, was just repaved last week. I don't even think that they've had the chance to paint crosswalks yet. And now it sounds like you're going to dig that up again. And so I was just wondering what that coordination with DDOT is like, and assumedly the patches that you put in, assumedly based on the work that you've done previously, that's not going to be as nice and smooth as what's just been put down. And so it concerns me that there was not a coordination on that front.
Right. And thank you for that. And we definitely do know that, you know, they did recently repave the road. What we usually do with DDOT, we have monthly meetings every month with them, and we share our work, what we are actually currently, you know, what we plan on executing in an anticipated timeline. And we try as best to coordinate with them before any, you know, work is occurring. And sometimes with our schedule and then with their schedule, it's not always a match there, if you will, for lack of better words. But we have shared that with them. And we, at the time that we shared it with them, we anticipated starting sometime in August. And then we were somewhat delayed with our executing our work, but you know, we did share this with them, and sometimes it doesn't always match, unfortunately, but we will be restoring the road to the original condition, well, to the condition that it's in.
Great, thank you. And then on Summit Place and Ontario Road, could you just go a little bit deeper on the impact on mobility and ADA during the construction, and then what those manhole covers look like, and whether they can be passed with wheelchairs and scooters and strollers? I know that one of your team mentioned not wanting to impede day-to-day activities, but of course, if there are, if there are whole sidewalks being worked on, that's going to impede day-to-day activities. So I'd love to just hear a little bit more. And I know you had a picture of a previous manhole. I don't know if you have a photo of what it'll look like on the sidewalk when it's completed.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And with the manhole installation, we don't have a picture of what it would look like once it's completed. It will be a bit larger manhole, and it will be recessed in the sidewalk, and we will restore the sidewalk once we're done. But it does, to your point about the sidewalk, it will impede on the sidewalk simply because we will be installing a newer manhole in those sidewalks. And we do have a traffic control plan that, you know, has been approved by DDOT that allows to permit that will allow us to do the work. But it will be some impacts to sidewalk, to the sidewalk, obviously. If there are any, ADA issues, we will try to address that as best as possible. But just realistically, it will be impacts to the sidewalk.
So I guess my last question is related to that. Your crews have already been working on Columbia Road on the 1600 block. Just last Wednesday, your crews parked in a what had been reserved as a safe accommodation for pedestrians to walk around the construction site at 1630 Columbia Road. And your crews put, I think, 3 vehicles into that space that should be used for pedestrians. And so, I'm looking at where you're going to be working on Columbia Road, which has a section of a bike lane. If you're going to be tearing up the sidewalk, I'm wondering, do your traffic control plans accommodate for bicyclists that no longer have a bike lane, and that might be, might not have a proper bike lane until the spring when you're able to put things down? And is your traffic control plan for pedestrians to make them just cross the street to get around your work zone, or are you going to be putting safe accommodations in the street, in the parking lanes for people to go through?
Hey, okay, that's a good question, and I'll hand it off to Tim Bew. Could you answer that question specifically, Tim, about Columbia Road, or would it be Verone?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Zach. Zach Gold and Tim Bew here. I appreciate your questions. And a couple that I'll follow up on from before. When this gets finished, everything is going to be looking shiny new and better than it was before. The scary looking manhole vault opening is no fun while we're doing the work, but then it'll have a manhole cover on it. It'll be nice and smooth and as required by DDOT and to work well with all the pedestrians, including to accommodate for ADA accommodations. During construction, when the permitting hours finish at the end of the day, they'll be putting steel plated covers on, and they will do their best effort to add a little edges to it to help with pedestrian travel across the metal covers. I do expect it's not going to be perfect, but it is their intention is to have it be all right while they're doing construction in certain areas. I hear your concern about three vehicles were parked in an area that was designated for different use. We'll talk internally to try and make sure that sort of thing does not happen. And with respect to the flow of traffic, our approved traffic control plans do handle all the lanes and pedestrian traffic areas that are there. So that's vehicles, the biker lane, and the walkway. It's imperfect because we need to shut areas down or reroute areas during the construction. And we do have that rerouting. We do have flaggers who will help control the traffic and help have things be safe there for the vehicles, for the bikers, for whatever vehicles or flow is being used by the pedestrians in the area.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Zach. Kristen, go ahead.
Hi, it's Kristen Barden here. Hi, Trevorris, how are you? It's nice to see you, albeit
Nice to see you
virtually.
too. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, can you give us, or maybe you can't right now, but as we get closer to the dates for each of these sections, can you alert the community as to exactly like what weeks you're going to be doing that work, so that we can let people know?
Yeah, and thank you very much for that. What we typically try to do is give look aheads. That's what we did at the in the last Mount Pleasant area. So we definitely can do that before we start and execute work. We will be alerting folks beforehand, because right now what we're doing is giving you preliminary dates. And so they may shift depending upon weather conditions and things like that. But we definitely can make sure that you're aware of this before it starts in the different areas.
Okay. And how will you do that?
It will be mostly by email. What we're looking to do is, again, as I stated, execute a meeting outside of the ANC where we'll be, following up as we progress, and we will, have follow-up meetings. So this is, we're coming to the ANC, but when we did this work in Mount Pleasant, we had several meetings with the community. So it wasn't just one time, because this work is impactful. It's going to be on the sidewalk. So we do anticipate on having several meetings. So it won't be, you just get an email. We will, have meetings to provide, real-time updates as well.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Other questions from members of the public or commissioners?
Hey, Amir, I've got a question if you don't mind.
Sure.
Hey, thank you guys for this presentation. When I'm not hosting these meetings, I'm a transportation reporter. So I know that there are issues with making utility cuts on freshly paved streetscapes all over the city. And it's good to hear that you guys do meet with DDOT on a regular basis. But, you know, this is the questions that Zach asked are questions that I hear all across the city. And so my question for you guys is, who at DDOT are you meeting with? Is it, you said monthly, is that the monthly public space division meetings? Because, you know, questions of pedestrian safety are managed by several different teams at DDOT. Because I mean, and so that's sort of the concern is obviously the city spends a lot of money to put down fresh concrete and asphalt. And yeah, I think that it's not just this is one specific project and obviously a needed infrastructure upgrade, but what steps are you guys taking to make sure that this happens less and less as things go on?
Right. And thank you very much for that. We do meet with DDOT very regularly. So we have monthly meetings with the public space division, public space and regulation division. And so we meet with them and they're responsible for all the roads throughout DC. So whether it's, you know, they do a lot of coordination, they issue our permits, they, you know, are the main, you know, authority that really tell us what our restoration limits are. You know, they have a lot of authority. We work very closely with them. Another thing that we do is we participate in what they call the utility coordination meetings, where all of the utilities and some developers come to these meetings to share projects. But what DDOT has done and what they shared with us, they have a new system which is called ProTrack Plus, which allows us to input our projects into a database. And so we just recently received training actually a month ago, well, actually about 3 weeks ago, so that we can begin putting in a lot of these projects. Now, this project that I'm talking about, that we're here talking to you about, we're going to be doing this in a lot of areas throughout the district because it's underground, and it's going to be about 10 years that we'll complete the work. So we're, you know, meeting with DDOT monthly. We're also sharing this information even outside of the monthly meetings. And then we also do site visits with the public space inspectors as well, so that they're aware of what we're doing. So we did a survey of the area in April, and then we shared this information with DDOT in April. And then, of course, we made a couple of public announcements about this, but just to show you that we do take a lot of time to share, hey, here's where we think we'll be, and then once we get a more definite time as far as when we know construction will start, you know, and when we have an actual contractor on board to do the work, that's when we sort of notify them and update them on the anticipated times. But with this project particularly, what we're doing is we're identifying those areas where there is a need to replace the rubber lead cable. So this is one area, and then we're looking at the, you know, another area, and then we'll be identifying other areas. So it's close. So we'll be, you know, as far as when I start to identify where we need to make upgrades, we'll be, you know, of course, notifying DDOT in real time. But so to answer your question, we meet with them monthly, and not even monthly, but also on site. So it's very regularly and constant communication.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. Let's thank you guys. Thank you, Trevorus. Thank you everyone for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much, and we'll make sure to share additional information as well. But thank you all very, very much, and please email me or contact me should you have any concerns.
Yeah, thank you all very much. And Gordon, we hate it too when we come on in and we're planning to do our work, and we'll assure, you know, we make sure that we get that paving and everything really good when we're done. We hate it when that sort of thing happens, and we just keep on being forward looking and coordinating together with DDOT, and sometimes we miss, but we'll keep on working on improving that.
Great. Thank you, Tim, for emphasizing that. Okay, so moving to the next item on our agenda. Why don't we unshare Traverse's screen and pull up so the next item on our agenda is to review the invoices and upcoming contract with Gordon for his video production services. Can we?
Hey, Amir, it looks like the Bryce Jacobs said 1833 Ontario Place was next.
Huh. It's not listed on my agenda as next, but I know that actually they're on a tight timeline. So yeah, I'm happy to take 1833 Ontario Place next. Yeah, all right. Why don't we do that? So the plans for 1833 Ontario Place are on the website, and it's a rear yard deck special exception application. So Bryce, you want to talk to that, or do you have your architect, Mr. Blake? There we go. So go ahead, Michael.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi. Yeah, my name is Michael Blake. I'm a principal at B Studio Architecture. And I'm here representing the homeowners of 1833, Bryce Jacobs and Matthew Mayers. I have a presentation. If you'd like, I can put it up on the screen. The drawings that are up on the webpage, but just format it so we can talk through it together.
Sure, hold on, Michael.
And for everyone else that wanted to follow along there, whether you're watching on the screen or you're dialing in, you can find that at anc1c.org. And if you look at our agenda, you'll see that we link to those drawings there as well.
Hi, everyone. Are you seeing my screen?
No, you need to.
I need to enable it. Okay, let me get to the presentation view first.
Yeah, and there's a button at the bottom of the screen that says share screen, and you can pick a window to show.
Okay. You know what, bear with me 1 second here. Something. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on with PowerPoint. I don't know if it's because I'm on Zoom, but I can't quite get to I don't know how to get to the presentation view. So no problem. Oh wait, let's see. Are you guys seeing a rendering right now, or are you seeing notes?
Both.
Both.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, I'm not quite sure how to make that work, so I'm just gonna just do it in regular mode. Okay, can you guys see this? Is it large enough?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, I apologize about that. Not gonna have my notes, but it's all right. I can wing it here. Okay, so as I said, my name is Michael Blake, and I'm representing the homeowners in 1833 Ontario Place Northwest. And we are helping them to pursue a special exception with the BZA for both lot occupancy and a rear yard setback. So the lot occupancy, we are requesting to go up to 70%. And the rear yard setback, we're going to be just shy of 5 feet rear yard setback, as opposed to the 20 foot that is required. And we are asking to do this as a expedited review with the BZA. The hearing date is scheduled for October 7th. So the property is in a RF1 zone, but it is actually, it shares an alley with, I think it's RA2. So you can see here from this Google Earth image, there's 5-story apartment buildings on just across the alley from the property, which is highlighted here in red. So the alley, I think this is a good image to show. It's considerably built up. There's a lot of height already on the alley with this addition here, this rear yard addition. There's already some instances of decks that have been pushed to the alley, presumably under older zoning ordinances. But anyway, the alley is pretty well built up, and it's pretty common, as you can see on these properties here, for there to be a strong border right at the property line. This is a vicinity map here, and it just again to show the kind of change that happens to this alley between the medium density residential properties and the single family that you see in the yellow here, the low density residential. The transition occurs right at this alley where the subject property is outlined here in black. Got some pictures on the side to show the existing conditions. Here's a condition where at number 3, where you can see that it's a similar condition to what we are proposing, which is to push the deck to the all the way to the alley. And here are some images to just kind of show the height and that strong border that is on both sides of the alley.
So that building with the white wall there, that's where to that extent is what you're proposing pushing it to?
Correct. Yeah. So let me, this is easiest to understand in plan view here. These are area plans, and what you see here is this is the existing condition up at the top, and this is the proposed condition. So right now there's a rear yard deck that's off of the house, right directly off of the house, off of the kitchen at both the first floor and the second floor, with stairs down to a little yard that then goes to a parking pad at the alley elevation. What we were proposing to do is to push that rear yard deck farther towards the alley. We'll have just a 5-foot setback, maintain a parking spot below that. This will be at 10 feet, and connect to the main house through this kind of bridge structure with a landing to the kitchen door. So the reason that the homeowners would like to do this and need to do this is because of construction that was done in 1831 Ontario Place for this addition, this rear yard addition. that has inhibited their access to light and air. So they want to have some kind of outdoor space to enjoy, and that's what has caused us to push the deck farther back towards the alley. And then, as you can see, the lot occupancy that we're requesting, going up from the by right 60% to the 70%, is a significant amount of it is used to just connect the deck to the main house, just for convenience, for ease of access, for the kids to easily be able to get there without having to go downstairs and upstairs. So that's one of the driving factors for that lot occupancy special exception. And then obviously the rear yard setback going from that 20 foot to 4 foot is just trying to get beyond the exterior wall, the new exterior wall at 1831, and then also provide some protection to the at the parking spots.
And is 1831 the building with the white wall and the garage on top that's set at the alley?
No. I'm not sure. Let me go back here.
The garage with the deck on top?
No, that's not 1831. I believe that is, if you see on this vicinity map, I believe that's, I guess it might be 1827.
Okay.
But 1831 is seen in picture number 2, the corner here. That might be, it's hard to say. It's a difficult alley to photograph because it's so narrow.
Hi, this is Bryce. So sorry, we had a child care issue. Yes, go. The structure with the wings out, the biggest structure that you see in picture 5, I think is 1829. And then attached to us is going the wrong way, 1835. So that's 1830. I don't know I'm 1833. Next to us is 1831, which is a 2-unit building. And then next to that is the biggest building in number 5. And 1831 is on the other side of us, that bigger white wall. Amir, you might recall our neighbors that we had an issue with that did a somewhat illegal build to about 87% occupancy on the other side.
That's your immediate next door neighbor?
Correct.
Right. Okay. Got it. 87% lot occupancy?
That's what our neighbors have. They do. Amir, we sat in your living room and talked about this.
I don't remember I do remember sitting in my living room.
Okay. So they have pushed out and taken all their outdoor space with their building. And so that reduced our light and air significantly. And so we are trying to get a little bit out ahead of that for our family.
Okay. All right, so I'm clear on which structures which by going through the drawings. Michael, do you want to continue?
Yes. Okay, so here you see the floor plans, the proposed floor plans. This is the second level up at the top, first level here in the middle, and the basement level, which is the current rear yard grade besides the parking pad down the bottom. So the existing rear yard deck has been reduced in depth to really just be a landing for this stair and door. And then at the second floor, we are aligning with that and proposing an extension of the building envelope to enlarge this back bedroom here. Then the connection to the rear yard deck that we already discussed, and at the basement level, there'll just be the columns, the structural support, the stairs going up from the rear yard grade, and the basement entry. with the parking that's existing to remain. Here we have a section through the deck. Here you can see the bridge in the background, and you can get a sense of the kind of change in elevation. There's that 10-foot height above the alley that I mentioned earlier. And here's an elevation of the house with the bump out at the second floor. So it's worth noting, we did hear from the neighbors at, now I'm going to go back just to be sure, at 1835 Ontario. We heard from the neighbors there that have a unit at the ground level, and they are concerned about the height of this fence railing. We do need a railing here because it's a 10-foot drop. The building code requires that, but they're concerned about the height of it and the impact that it will have on their property. So we're in conversations with them, but what Bryce and her husband have offered to do is to lower this to the minimum code height for a railing, which is 3 feet. They still want to keep this as a solid railing to provide some privacy from those apartment buildings that are just across the alley with windows right on the alley. And also for safety, because, just to help avoid kids having their kids climb up on this railing. So the solid fence will help with that. And hopefully that will help to address the neighbors' concerns about this wall. So this elevation may very well change with this fence wall that you're seeing here coming down in height to align with the rest of the railing. And then here are some solar studies, which the full drawing set that was submitted to the BZA has solar studies for both summer and winter solstice, and then the fall and spring equinox. Really, because this is facing north, the summer is the only time that's really impacted, because it's the only time that the sun path is in the northern sky enough to really reach any of this. And there's really, so here you can see on the right-hand side is the existing conditions, on the left-hand side is the proposed. The only real impact is on the parking areas in the afternoon time, as you can see here, with that deck being pushed out to the alley. The sun gets a little bit around the corner there, and it would put some shade in this parking pad for 1831. But it's the parking, and it's afternoon in summer, so I don't think it's a bad thing to have a little bit of shade there. But anyway, that's the very minimal impact that this would have on the neighboring properties' light. And I believe that's the last slide. Yeah, that's the last slide. So happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Okay, I'd like to start with commissioners. Any questions? Commissioner Guthrie?
Yeah, I just want to be clear. The only addition to the structure itself is the slight bump out on the second floor, and the rest of it is all going to be exterior space. Is that correct?
That's correct. So here you can see in this section, this area here with the insulation is the new building envelope, and there's actually a roof. The existing roof cantilevers out over what is an existing balcony. So that won't change, but we will be enclosing the space with exterior walls and then the floor as well. Everything else is exterior space.
Yeah, I was a little surprised because it was my understanding that they didn't count in lot occupancy if facilities were open without being, like open to the air. So I'm surprised that they're counting this as lot occupancy when it's actually no substantial change from the amount of space that is available for air circulation and sunlight. Because it doesn't seem like it has the sort of impact that one would expect with increased lot occupancy, in the sense that, this is sort of, as I understand it, the garage space itself is more like a carport, which you see through.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So it's not like a big wall that's going up there. It's just decking structure.
Correct.
Yeah. And could you show me on this where the next door neighbor end of their building is? Just so that I'm clear about it. Can you highlight that somehow? The one that got extended?
Yeah, so you can see this gray block here. This is the end of 1831 Ontario, which is currently about 4 feet beyond the existing deck that will be replaced.
Okay.
And then 1835 aligns with this existing deck. Let's see, you can see proposed plans here as well.
And just to be clear, those are not deck structures on either side. Those are actual exterior walls.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was talking about what you're proposing to do.
Correct.
When I
You're
initially,
right, Ted. You're
when
on.
I initially looked at it, I was afraid that you were planning to everything that is in the brown with rear deck, that you were putting that in as a building, and you're not. So that makes a huge difference in my evaluation of the impact on the neighbors, certainly.
My building is still going to be smaller than all of the ones around us.
Okay.
So is it the increased lot occupancy only because that deck provides a roof, like a structure over the area underneath it, the carport? So is that why it's counting as increased lot occupancy?
Any structure that's over 4 feet above grade counts towards lot occupancy. So part of it is the fact that this is going to be 10 feet off of the ground. So I mean, for example, like the uncovered stairs to the principal level, they don't count towards lot occupancy. You can see it. That's why they're shown in green. Mm-hmm. But the deck structure itself, being at 10 feet above the alley grade, does count. The lot occupancy is defined as from grade to sky. It's supposed to be clear from grade to sky. So deck structures do actually count. I think it's that 4 foot number above finished grade, and then I think I want to say 4 feet off of the exterior wall. If you just had a balcony, that wouldn't count towards lot occupancy. But I'd have to check that. There is a horizontal distance that comes into play as well.
Right. Okay. Let's commissioners. Other questions? Commissioner Zatoli, you have something?
Yes, if I may. I'd like to remind the commissioners that we've heard from a couple of neighbors supporting the project, but today I was communicating with the closest neighbors, the Robertsons, about this issue, and they'd had some concerns. I encouraged them to talk with the owner about their concerns, and if we could, I'd like to hear from Jeff and Ritika just to see what the status of their conversations.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, John, for the introduction. And to your point, we had a series of productive emails and a phone conversation with the owners of 1833. Taking a step back for a moment, Michael was incorrect in saying that our only concern is the fence along the rear of the deck. We're really concerned with the overall encroachment into the setback. We own a cellar first floor unit, and we have, with that comes, poor air circulation, and we deal with the resulting mildew, moisture buildup, mosquitoes, all sorts of those sorts of issues. And we're concerned that encroaching into the 3/4 of the overall setback that was put there to try and protect adjacent property owners' access to light, and in particular air, which I believe Michael mentioned in the preamble to his submission here. we're really concerned with that encroachment. And, as currently shown and drafted, we do voice our public opposition to the plans. All that being said, because of John's suggestions and the productive conversation we had with the owners at 1833 today, we do think that there's a potential for compromise. Bryce sent over one suggestion, and we've, my wife and I have spent a lot of time over the last 2 days or so talking in detail about what we'd be comfortable with. And so I guess our comment is that we ask that we sort of table a vote here while we have plans to circle up and talk on Friday of this week to really talk about what Bryce suggested and maybe an idea or two that my wife and I had to sort of mitigate those concerns. But it's not really just the fence that's at the edge. It's really the overall encroachment of the setback. Putting a large wooden structure 3/4 into that setback is going to disrupt the airflow that's already limited to the ground floor of our unit. And that's really our concern.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. And you're at 1835, right?
Correct. 1835, number 1. So in the illustration there, if you see the garage to the far right, if you go straight back, that's the cellar level of our unit. And then just above that garage, you can see that railing. That's our first floor Juliet balcony, and we have the full width of the lot there.
Okay.
So yeah, in terms of direct impact to this structure, we're the number 1 affected party in the neighborhood here.
Okay. And Bryce, Michael, did you want to respond to that?
I know Bryce has been in contact with the neighbors today, and we're happy to work through any compromises we can with them. We mentioned the height of the fence. I guess the only thing that I wanted to mention that I don't think it. I'm sure you guys have realized this already. I'm sorry, your name just skipping me, but the neighbors have seen this already. But we're actually going to be. This configuration right now, the existing deck goes from property line to property line. You can see the large overhead door that's in this this picture here. So there's parking at the rear of the lot here, and so this configuration with pushing the deck out farther towards where the parking is for this property will open up a portion of the access to the air, and give you more privacy since we'll be farther away from the property line. You can see in the solar diagrams here the sun path, where really the impact on shading, it won't there won't be an impact on the shading. I certainly understand the concern about access to air. And so, but that's the only thing I want to point out is that since we are reducing that first level deck to not be the full width of the property, we're holding off of that a little bit. That will also, that will improve the current condition.
And I just want to add that this is Bryce. We're happy to work with Jeff and Ratika, as they said, and make some compromises. We are asking the ANC to support this when it goes to BZA on October 7th. I know you're not meeting again before that. We do have a lot of support from other neighbors, as well as what Michael just said, that we don't think this has that great an effect. And so we're asking for ANC support for this, in addition to working with Jeff and Ratika on a compromise.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I'm not throwing a wrench in the process here, but if there's not going to be another ANC meeting to sort of talk about the compromise and finalize that, that makes me uncomfortable that, we're going to be put in a position with an approval today that, there's really no teeth behind any potential compromise. So is there any potential to delay the hearing on October 7th?
No, it's been delayed months already because of COVID. And, and we can, we can go to the BZA without ANC support. So, I guess I'm asking for like a gentleman's shake on that we can talk about it. But again, even with opposition, we could go to the BZA.
We had originally discussed presenting this to a committee. I can't remember right now the name of it. Is it that?
Planning, zoning, transportation.
Yeah, which was later in the month. I mean, I know that the vote should occur at the full community meeting, but usually you guys can, you have up until basically right before the hearing to submit your letter of opposition or whatever or support to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but do we have time to work through this and get the support of the ANC? Also, just wanted to mention, we do have support of the Office of Planning. Because this was submitted, we started on this project before everything, before COVID happened. So it's sat at the Office of Zoning for a while, and Office of Planning actually has already reviewed it and approved. But of course, our goal is to have support from the ANC and the community and the neighbors as well.
Yeah, and I certainly sympathize with what happened, given the pandemic and the slowdown, but we're really responding in the first public forum that we've had the opportunity to do so. And I also, I agree that I think we can get to a resolution here, but, just in terms of, what the downside for us here is, I think that the homeowners are pursuing this addition because of development that's occurred around them. And quite frankly, my wife and I don't have the money required to extend the deck, well out into our own parking structure. If, as currently designed, it does impair our property to the extent that that outdoor space isn't usable without that extension. So just, throwing that out there for public consumption. And I think additionally, in terms of other neighbor support, like I mentioned, and I think it sounds like, everyone's sort of tacitly acknowledging, we're sort of the most directly affected by the improvements.
Amir, I know in the past, as Michael said, the ANC has put in a letter of support or opposition after the meeting. Is that a possibility here as well?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But we have to vote on something tonight, so that letter of support can come. We can vote on that and then send in that letter later. But can we Commissioner Guthrie, maybe you can chime in here, but can we make the letter of support itself contingent on the neighbors' agreement? No.
We're not allowed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Something where we could exchange emails over the next week, and then I don't know if you guys can caucus out a session and approve that. It sounds like probably no, but just ask a question.
No, unfortunately. But one thing that I might suggest, that given what I've heard from the neighbors and the applicants, is that it doesn't sound like the proposed changes are to sort of the big part of this. I understand that there will be an impact from, if this is built, from the structure on your property, but that what you're going to be talking about is sort of things to ameliorate that would still leave them with the deck structure essentially what they're proposing. And in that case, it seems to me that the goodwill of neighbors winds up being a pretty effective way to get to a common agreement, much more so than anything that gets imposed by us or by BZA. That I get what you're saying about not feeling like you have any weight if we went ahead and approved it now, but it does sound to me like what you're working with is not sort of the big part of what's being done, but things that would soften it for you. And it certainly sounds like the applicants are quite willing to do what they can to soften. I don't know if that solves your problem, but our problem is that if we're going to weigh in, we have to do it tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that that's an unreasonable statement, but until we actually have the conversation on Friday, I'm not personally comfortable saying that. I mean, we're generally reasonable. We're not going to ask for a full re-engineering of the project here, but I do reserve sort of final comment until we actually formally talk about it. It's a big decision for us at least, and so we've been spending some time as a family talking about it.
Just so I'm clear, it looks to me as though the garage space on your building goes all the way to the alley line. Is that That's
It's
correct.
uncovered space.
Yeah, it's just a protected door.
Right. And honestly, I know it sounds like it might be smaller issues, but it is going to impact quality of life to a considerable degree if we don't have any circulation or airflow.
Well, what I'm not understanding is, because I haven't seen a picture that really shows what's going on here, but your building basically goes back as far, roughly as far as theirs, correct?
It's a little, their structure is about 3 feet bigger than ours, plus an entire floor higher than ours.
Oh, so they have a deck that is at the ground level, is that correct?
No, they have a parking space. That's their parking space.
No, we actually have a patio that's a limited common element of the building that we use for barbecuing, socializing, entertaining, those sorts of things. So we do have an outdoor space that we use for living on the ground floor.
And that is between that exterior car space and your unit, is that what I'm
Correct.
understanding?
There's about a 20-foot run of concrete where we double park cars. There's a small lip, and then there's a small garden and again, patio that opens up onto our cellar level that we use for grilling, cooking, entertaining.
And where does that, if you look at the longitudinal study that's up now, where is, you can see what they're proposing to do is they'll have their car, then they'll have this space that is basically, from what I can tell, open space.
So if you were to look,
I'm not understanding what your situation is on your side of that.
Yeah, so if you look at the picture, our sort of outdoor entertaining space probably goes, you know, maybe.
So we park cars at the same area that they park their car, and then our garden is that open space, and then our patio space is where the stairs are.
Yeah, and so if you look at the way that lies with the alley that opens up onto, I think that's Ontario Road right there, you know, that's basically a diagonal line from the opening of that alley onto Ontario to that outdoor space, and you're putting a large wooden structure right in the path of that airflow, which is what concerns us.
Michael, can you pull up the picture that you just had up that I sent you today that shows their car?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, okay, so this is a picture of the alley. So here's that parking spot and the concrete pad. This is the existing fence. So, I mean, really what will change in terms of what will change on this property is that you'll have a railing, a wood railing that's an open railing. You know, it's not a solid railing like the one that we're proposing along the alley. It's just a pressure treated wood, typical, picket railing at this fence, at the line of this fence, above this fence. Right here.
Yep.
You know, I guess if the picture's to highlight the presence of the car, I mean, I'll say that one, that we move that car all the time when we entertain, and the deck's not movable, and also that's a by right use of the space there.
And while the railing might be not a total wooden structure, the base of the deck is, and that does affect airflow.
So, I mean, from a practical standpoint, I hear what the ANC saying that, you know, there's really, you know, procedurally not, you know, much to do other than just a straight accept or reject. I also understand that there's really not a way to make the letter contingent upon some sort of approval from us. Is there a way to just provide general context without a follow-up in the letter of our concerns, the fact that there's an ongoing discussion about it, and you know, basically that would be something that if we ultimately are not able to come to an agreement, we could point to when we go to BZA and have that discussion with them. Do we think that's a reasonable compromise here?
That sounds reasonable to me. So we can just note the circumstance in the letter for BZA to see that. And but if you guys come to an agreement, then that would kind of be moot.
Yeah, I mean, Bryce, does that sound reasonable to you and Michael? Or Matthew?
Yes.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
So practically, what is it what kind of language exactly are we including writing there? Including to write there in this approval? Because
I may make a suggestion, Chair.
Yeah, please.
The fundamental notion is we're supporting the applicant's plans, but I think we should cast that action with a clause that shows our confidence that the applicant and the neighbors are committed to working through needed modifications. We don't have to make the resolution contingent on the reaching an accord, but I think we should recognize that we know that ongoing discussions could prove fruitful. And here's the language I suggest. Whereas clause.
One other potential solution that my wife just pointed out, if this is not the last item on the agenda, I mean, I think Bryce is sitting probably about 15 feet from us right now. Could we table the vote on this till the end of the agenda? And Bryce, I mean, do you have, 5-10 minutes to go hop out on the deck? Maybe we can propose what we were thinking now and just make this a cleaner process.
Well, I have a 3-year-old here who is way past her bedtime. I want Michael in the conversation as well. So after she goes to bed, I'm happy to meet you on the porch. But I don't know that I could do it during this meeting.
Okay.
So here's the whereas clause that I would suggest we put into the our standard resolutions. Whereas the applicant has committed to work with neighbors to resolve the neighbors' concerns.
Could we maybe add something to the effect of over airflow and overall encumbrance on the in-place setback?
Concerns over airflow. What was the rest of it?
Caused by encroachment into the prescribed setback.
I heard airflow, and what about the encroachment?
Into the setback, disruptions in airflow and resulting, moisture and other issues because of the encroachment into the setback.
Michael, can you though talk a little bit about, I think there's some technical things about, is there really a moisture issue? So Michael, I'd like you as your architect expertise to chime in.
I mean, moisture issues are extremely complex. I don't see how this would inhibit airflow enough. Again, this is going to be an open, this is not a solid railing. The deck structure that was mentioned is going to be, it looks like in this drawing, if this is a 7-foot fence, just slightly above the existing fence elevation. I don't believe that there's anything enough to inhibit air circulation to the point that it could impact moisture in the slab. But I mean, that moisture, that's like the #1 enemy of architects. So I'm a little hesitant to say if this will impact or not, because it can be coming from lots and lots of things.
And from a practical standpoint, I mean, that's our position too. I mean, neither of us are architects either, but if the die is cast here, then it's 100, I don't know what the exact cost to put a deck out there would be, but it's, a substantial sum if we vote wrong here.
Right, which I've had to save up to deal with the encroachment on either side of me. So I hear where you're coming from and trying to, protect my family space too.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
I think we're at a point where we can have something together.
Can I add one thing to that whereas clause? Could we just be specific about the neighbor? I think you said neighbors that are just very specific about, the singular neighbor property that is objecting.
Sure.
Yeah, but again, the most directly impacted though.
Right. I know, Jeff, I was most impacted by both of the buildings next to us, and it didn't matter. So saying that it's one neighbor is important, that, I was the only one impacted by the other building and it went ahead anyway. So I think
I mean, we're just responding, based on the public process here.
Okay, so what I think Commissioner Zatoli and I can talk about the specific language, but the spirit here is that we're in support, but we do want to highlight the neighbor's concern in the letter, in that whereas clause, the specific concern of the moisture and the encroachment and the light and air there. I'm sorry.
Might I add that also the good faith efforts of both parties to come to a reasonable, modification and resolution?
Sure. Commissioner Zatoli, do you have that down?
No, there were too many terms floating and I didn't catch it.
Good faith efforts by both parties to come to a reasonable resolution.
So what we'll do is we'll vote out a resolution in support of this application. And we will also have, I will work with Commissioner Zatoli to work in that language, that specific language into there. But the spirit of it here is that we have all those points noted in the report. Any
So what you're suggesting, Chair, is that the resolution simply approve the plans, but then in the letter, we delve into these conversations that are ongoing.
Exactly, and the specific concerns that the neighbors have. So that's on the record as well.
If
With
I could ask Jeff and Ratika to just maybe talk with me tomorrow about the specific concerns you have, so that we can flag them in our letter.
Yeah, we'd be happy to send those over by email, and then if you'd like, circle up on by phone tomorrow.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I appreciate the email, and please copy Bryce and her spouse as well.
Absolutely.
Got a resolution by Friday on final plans anyway.
Okay. So other questions from commissioners or members of the public? All right. Hearing none, let's call to a vote. All those in favor?
Do we have an actual motion on the table that's been seconded? Just trying to be helpful here. The motion in substance is what you stated, that ANC 1C approves the application with language that will reflect our recognition of concerns by the neighbors to the immediate west and the good faith efforts on both sides to ameliorate the effects of the structure upon those neighbors.
I second that motion.
So thank you, Commissioner Guthrie and Commissioner Zatoli. Let's call to a vote on that motion. So all those in favor of the motion as described, please indicate so by saying aye.
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 Any against? Any abstentions? All right, great. It's a unanimous vote. Okay, let's thank you all for coming.
Thank you to the ANC, and also, special thank you to Bryce for such a productive conversation, for being, good partners here, and to Commissioner Zatoli as well.
Thanks, Jeff and Ritika and Bryce. Thanks, Michael, everyone else. So we'll get that letter out with the conditions. Okay. So the next item on our agenda, before we move on to the next item, I just want to call for a quick break here, so everybody can just take a moment for themselves. So let's take a short break for 3 minutes and we'll be back. Okay. Let's give another minute here for Commissioner Dendy to join us and Commissioner Zatoli. All right, so the next item on our agenda is the contract with Gordon for the audio video services that he provides for ANC 1C. So the contract is listed on our website, and as well as the invoices that we have, the prior invoices for services already rendered. Thank you, Commissioner Bowles, for pulling that up on your screen. So what we have is that this contract, there are some significant differences. Of course, the times are also different in that we had in-person meetings previously, and now we do a lot of virtual meetings, and that includes committee meetings. And previously, Gordon had, we had used Gordon services for the in-person full ANC meeting, and now we're doing it for all of our meetings. So there is a difference in per month, and Gordon, maybe you just want to highlight the differences here.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Just to knock out the invoices first. So the ANC, I sent the ANC in 3 different invoices that they are considering tonight. One is the second 50% of the contract we signed late last year to deliver what again was at the time meant to be in-person broadcasts of the meetings at Mary Center. And I've continued helping them under that contract in this virtual setting.
That's invoice number 1017.
I don't have the numbers for me, but that one's for $900.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. The second invoice is $237.50. That is for providing the broadcast in service here on Zoom for August. 1C normally does not meet in August, so that's just the rate I would pay for any other client for just a spot contract like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the largest invoice is the $1,755. And that is the first 50% of the new contract. So that is as you noted, a significant increase in the total contract amount, as well as the first 50% and the second 50% that would come next September. The main reason that has increased so much is that right now, in order for committees to proceed and for us to keep the same amount of transparency, I'm joining all the committees. So the commissioners described them earlier. In addition to tonight, the next two of the next three and possibly 3 of the next 3 Wednesdays, there'll be committee meetings. And so the additional contract covers virtual meetings for all of those, doing the same live streams that we have here, and being able to do them as much as is necessary for the commission to do business. And then there are 2 other things to note with the new contract. The first is that we are in this state of emergency, and no ANC I know of has any idea with what's going to happen when in-person meetings will resume. And to make it Occam's razor easiest for everyone, I essentially just broke up the year. So I charged the midpoint between my virtual rate, which is $50 an hour, and my in-person rate, which is $100 an hour. So the math works under the assumption that at some point, hopefully in January or March or sometime during the period of the fiscal year, we'll get back to meetings. And then the final thing to note is when we get back to in-person meetings, my suggestion to ANC 1C and all of my clients is that they continue being able to provide virtual participation. So that would mean that though the commission or a certain percentage of the commission and a certain percentage of the stakeholders and residents would go to Mary Center or some other place, that people, depending upon their comfort level or their just family needs or whatever, have the continued ability to dial in and participate that way. That requires the use of some of my equipment in addition to the equipment we bought last year for ANC 1C that ANC 1C owns. So that is also some additional cost covering the use of my equipment for some portion of the year. So that's basically it. It's trying to figure out how to best continue a seamless and accountable operation of the ANC, whether we're doing full virtual or we're in person, and depending upon anybody's comfort level, they do not have to come to Mary Center in person in order to participate.
Right. So it's a little expanded services than what the original contract was for, with that participation angle. And in the event that we were to do virtual meetings for the next year, does this contract cover that at the $17.55 per 6 months?
Yes. There would be no additional charge if we ran through the full next fiscal year. No matter, it's basically, like it may end up being that it's lower than I would have charged if we did a strict accounting at the end of the year, but it's just one rate that you guys have to pay. You'll be fully covered for the next fiscal year,
whether it's virtual or in person.
Yeah, virtual, in person, on the National Mall, wherever you guys want to go.
Okay, and that could be our committee meetings or the virtual committee meetings that we do.
Yep.
Okay. So I've had a couple of comments, but I do want to open this up to commissioners and members of the public. Thanks, Gordon, for that background. And actually, that was good background, but could you highlight the differences between the old contract and the new contract the numbers and briefly any bullet points there. And we all understand why. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Sure. So the specific numbers are, I budgeted 5 hours a month of services to provide, divided between the in-person meeting, or I should say the full commission meeting and the committee meetings, with the idea that sometimes of the full commission will go 3 hours, sometimes it'll go 2, and at least having 2 hours for budgeted for the full meeting, and then an hour each for the 3 different committees that you guys regularly meet. And that is a ceiling. So not that I want you to go for 17 hours, but that's the ceiling there. I charge, so it's 5 times 75, which is between the 50 and 100 I charge for the in-person versus virtual services. And then there's an additional equipment fee of $75, which is the flat rate per month. So that's again a midpoint between what I would charge if it's just like this, where I'm using equipment here in my office, or if that's me lugging all the equipment to Mary Center.
Our own equipment that we had purchased.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't charge you for that. It's just for the whatever is additional that I would need to do the virtual participation things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The current contract is a relatively simple contract, just because it was like you said, it was just the equipment that the ANC owned, and I was just storing it, transporting it, maintaining it, and then using it during the meeting. And so that was just $200 flat per month. So that envisioned 9 months of service, so that came out to $1,800 total. And like I said earlier, we ended up doing the additional month there in August. But yeah, so this envisions again the full 10.
That was 200, and now what is it per month?
Hold on, let me pull up the contract so I can look at my notes specifically. That was 200 per month. I would now charge $450 a month. And that, but the number that I'm actually charging you is discounted. So there's a
So what is it? What is the bottom line?
It's $292.50.
Okay.
Yeah.
$200 to $292.50.
That's correct. Yes.
All right. So it's about a 50%. So $292.50. Is that for 11 months or 12 months?
That's 11 months.
Okay. Okay. So that's $32,750. Is that right? $292.50 times 11.
Yeah.
Okay. And the invoice, the first invoice that's due would be $17.55.
Yeah.
And then the second invoice, would that be the difference between $32,750 and $17.55? So that's $14.62.5. Because the contract says there's 2 invoices of $17.55.
That's correct. I may have made a mistake there. Hold on, I'm double checking right now.
Okay.
Your math is correct, Amir. I apologize.
Okay, so we'll just 1755, and then the second invoice would be 1462.5.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll amend the contract to say that.
Okay. And how about the renewal? I did notice that there's a $600 per month charge, which is much more than the $292 per month that we would pay. So is there a reason for that double the charge in case we don't renew and it goes to month?
That's correct. Yeah.
So I would propose that it just continue at $292.50.
That's fine with me.
Okay. Let's do that. And commissioners, please feel free to chime in if I'm missing out here. And members of the public, there's the contract is up at anc1c.org. If you look at our agenda, the prior contract along with the new proposed contract, both of them are there. It looks like there's just some, those are the numbers that stand out to me. So if we're going to do $292.50 a month, we said the $1462.50, and if we didn't renew, it would go to $292.50 per month instead of $600. And I don't have an issue with the invoices for services that have been rendered. Commissioners, any comments?
You're doing fine, Amir. Keep at it.
Okay. I think that there's some.
I just had one point. I was wondering, it refers to street justice in some terms of the contract. Does that have to do with street justice actually owning the equipment that you're using to supplement the equipment that we have?
So there is I'm happy with I'm open to any kind of technical suggestions here. So today I am operating as Gordon Chaffin, and so there's no so everything I own, all the equipment is mine. When this contract expires, and there we go. When this contract expires, there will not be a Gordon. All of this equipment will be owned by a different entity, because I am transitioning from Gordon Chaffin the person to Street Justice the nonprofit entity, which we haven't done the full 1023 with the IRS, but we do have the DCRA licensing and the EIN so far. So I wasn't sure how to reflect that in the contract, but for the purposes of today, Street Justice and Gordon Chaffin are the same, which is just me.
But would it be okay with you at this point in time, since you're operating as Gordon Chaffin without using Street Justice as the nonprofit that functions with everything, to just change all the references in the contract to Gordon Chaffin?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. I think that would be a good idea at this point.
Agreed.
Okay, so it'll be Gordon Chaffin instead of Street Justice, right? Okay.
Yes.
I think the numbers were clear on. There's some language things that could probably be cleaned up in the contract. And So commissioners, like there's something that says moderate the meetings. I mean, you know, I don't want to be nitpicky, but we do, I think that's my job to moderate the meetings.
Yeah.
So
I meant it in the technical sense. Yeah.
yeah, right. Yeah. I don't think that, I think since we're in agreement on the numbers, that we can go back and just change some of the wording around. And at the end where it says in a timely manner, return ANC once he's equipment in a timely manner, maybe we can just add a certain number of days to that.
Okay.
14 days. How about that?
Works for me.
Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, I'm good with the numbers. I'm good with the term. Commissioners, how does that sound to you? Members of the public?
Fine.
Unless someone points out something we're missing, it's fine with me at this point.
Okay. And we also went over those invoices for prior services. That's the 900. That was from last year's contract. That's due. And then the 237.50, which was for last month. Any comments or questions about those, commissioners, members of the public? No. Okay. And the only other thing I'll say is that I think that there should be a strict separation between street justice and Gordon Chaffin. I think Commissioner Guthrie touched on this, that those logos and whatever else don't make it to the ANC video and any other publication there from the ANC.
Okay.
Are we in agreement? Okay. So we'll work on the language, but the numbers and terms are all good. So I move that we adopt, that ANC once you adopt the contract as we've discussed and the numbers as indicated, along with the invoices. So do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. So I'll call to a vote. All those in favor of the resolution as indicated, please indicate so by saying aye.
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 Any against? Any abstentions? Great, nice and easy. 5-0. Moving on. And Gordon, I'll be in touch with you about signing that and working on that language.
Sounds good. So in normal times, ANCs do double signatures and send checks. Is that how you guys are operating? You guys will just socially distanced sign checks and mail them?
We still have double signature requirements. So yeah, Amir, we'll work that out. As soon as your contract is signed, then I'll mail out those checks.
Yeah. So I'll sign the contract and I can send that to you. And then as far as the checks, Japer and I or another officer will sign. Okay. So the next item is the holiday display. There's a proposal for a holiday display at BB&T Plaza that the Adams Morgan bid is putting together, but there's a lot of things. It's very early in the process and there hasn't been a permit that's been applied for, but I did want to get this on our agenda to discuss it and to have Kristen show us some of the designs, but I understand that some of the money isn't there yet. So Kristen, do you want to kick this off?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to do that. I know that in the agenda, there's a link to the designs. I don't know, Gordon, if you want to bring that up, or you can let me screen share and I can link to it also. Either way, so that people can see those if they haven't had a chance to look at them.
Hold on one second. I've got it pulled up.
Okay. Okay, so we've been working with Throughline, which is the former MAGA design. They put together these plans, which we presented to Truist Bank, who we're hoping will fund a good portion of this. We only have about $5,000 in our 2021 budget that we could put towards this. So we're hoping that Truist Bank will come through with most of the rest of it. So, but there's still a possibility that we will have to fundraise for a good chunk of it. And you'll see that there's a budget further on. So you can skip down, Gordon, executive summary. This is a little bit about Throughline. So the idea is we wanted to do something to really kind of bring some, some holiday magic, some holiday spirit to Adams Morgan, especially since I think we all think we're going to need it dealing with the year that we've had. So the idea that Throughline came up with is are these gift boxes that they will construct. And these will be very Instagrammable. People can social distance and take their picture in these gift boxes, and we think they'll be very fun and kind of interactive and something different. So Gordon, you want to go on to the next slide? So here's a little bit of an aerial view of the plaza and where these gift boxes would be located there. This is again at BB&T Bank Plaza on the corner of Columbia and Adams Mill Road. Gordon, you want to go to the next one? Another idea that we presented to them is doing an elf hat on top of the kiosk. There are some that have already been fabricated that we have found from a company called Downtown Decorations. That is another possibility depending on how much funding we're able to put together for this. But the elf hat we thought was just kind of fun. And we would construct it on top of the kiosk. The other, since BB&T and SunTrust are merging to form this new Truist Bank, we also wanted to do something on the SunTrust Plaza side. So we're proposing some more of these gift boxes that would be placed both on the roof of the building and then also on the upper level of that plaza. But there wouldn't be anything on the main level of the plaza. All of the interactive stuff would be on the BB&T Bank side because the farmers market is there on Saturdays through the end of December, I think. So and there really wouldn't be room for that and the farmers market. So so all of the proposed designs for SunTrust Plaza are as shown on this drawing. Yeah, so this shows the two things that that we're proposing to do both in the BB&T Bank Plaza and then also on the SunTrust Plaza side. Yeah, so you can go down to the budget page. Well, this is the timeline. So we shared this with the ANC on Tuesday, August 18th. If we get the funding from Truist, and again, we're waiting kind of to see how that plays out. We made this presentation to them just about the same time that we shared it with the ANC. So we should hear back from them pretty soon. We're hopeful that we'll hear back soon. So if we hear back from them soon, we'll apply for the permit, start construction, and the electrical that will need to run this. Throughline will build it October and November, and we would install it Friday, November 13th. and launch it probably Thursday, November 19th, right before Thanksgiving. It would be live for all of December, and then we'd break it down, right after the new year. So it'd be up there for about 6 weeks, basically, is what we're thinking. So this is the budget. Throughline has provided their design and consulting fees pro bono, which is very nice. We're going to get the permits and won't, charge them for that. They've broken down the price of the various different gift boxes and the elf hat. And then there is a couple of fees for contracting and installation. So the total budget for this is about $20,000. As I mentioned at the beginning, we have about 5,000 towards this. So we're hoping that Truist will come in with, most of the rest of it, but we don't know yet. And we may have to fundraise for some of it. So so this is kind of where we are. We're presenting this to you all. We're figuring out the electrical, and we'll start the permit process as soon as we know for sure that we can do this. So, but I wanted to bring this to the ANC now so that you have a chance to, to digest it as we get ready to, to apply for the permits. So I think that's about it. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Kristen. Questions from commissioners?
Just a comment, if I may. Kristen, when I saw those beautiful gift boxes, I started worrying about vandalism.
Oh, yeah, I think that they would be brought inside each evening. They wouldn't be left out there overnight. So they would be put out each evening as it gets dark, and then brought in at a certain point, and then returned the following evening. So they wouldn't be out there overnight.
Right.
Hey, Kristen, it's Japer. Do we have any updates from the Department of Urban Forestry about trees that we all discussed being located at that plaza?
Yeah, Elite sent an email back a week ago or so. I think you were copied on that. I know Amir was. Amir, you got that, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so their funding and their timeline for planting the trees has gotten pushed ahead a bit. So they probably won't be able to plant this fall, and it'll probably be a spring planting, is what he indicated to us. And they need to confirm that the revised plans that the ANC approved, that that plan doesn't interfere with anything, that's under the ground. So they really appreciate all the work that everybody did to come to a consensus on that, but they need to go back now and review those to make sure that they that they can implement that. So that's going to take them a little bit of time. Plus, they ran into some budget constraints, and
my understanding was that the budget piece. I mean, we did share the work all along the way.
Yeah, but it didn't seem like they were going to be able to do it until the spring planting season.
More money kind of things, right?
Yeah.
Well, I will say that's very, very disappointing, but thanks for following up with that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we were really hopeful that they would be able to do the planting this fall, and that was what we were pushing for. And so, yeah, we were disappointed by that response also.
And that is one of the reasons why we had an August meeting.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know. Things outside of our control.
Yeah.
But I just want to thank Kristen and the bid for getting this put together as far as it's gotten put together, because I think that this might bring a little joy back to our lives, and I appreciate all the forethought that they're going through this with. Good luck also with getting the money.
Yeah, thank you.
So comments, questions, commissioners, members of the public? thanks for presenting that, Kristen. Let us know how it goes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll let you know when we apply for the permits, and yeah, and what the timeline is. Do you want us to come back and formally get your approval, or what? What are your thoughts on that?
I think if there's an application, a public space permit, yeah, it would be helpful to do that. And at that point, going through the whole process that we just did with the trees that took multiple months, I thought it would be prudent for us to talk about this now as early as we could, which is why I'm thankful that you came tonight to talk about it. You probably want to reach out to property owners. I don't have to tell you this.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I reached out to the owner of the former Southern Hospitality building. He thinks it's great. He thinks it looks really fun. And he's not sure if he'll have a tenant by then. Anyway, he may not. He really doesn't know at this point. And of course, we're working with the bank directly. So, and they would fund a good chunk of this. So, yeah, that's our hope anyway.
Okay, well, my hope as well.
Yeah.
Hey, Kristen, this might be a dumb question, but is there any additional outreach you need to do in terms of like creating spaces that attracts people in terms of like the health emergency and all these things? Maybe this is a dumb question. I'm interested to see what the like if other bids are trying something like this, and if people are concerned about like mask adherence or things like that.
Yeah, well, the space, if we put, that many of these boxes on there, there's not going to be that much space for, for people to gather, frankly. So it's not really a concern because, that plaza is just not that big. So, if there's 10 people, 15 that, are kind of milling around and taking pictures and such, that's probably going to be kind of capacity. So, given you have to provide, the pedestrian, the 10-foot pedestrian perimeter around there and everything else, you're just, you're not going to have a lot of room. So that's, the reality. I appreciate the concern, but I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of room.
Okay. Thanks again, Kristen.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And yeah, when we apply for the public space permits, we'll come back.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, we have the next item is a resolution that Commissioner Bowles put together in support of the Decrim DC movement. And I think we have somebody from that organization on the line. Not sure if we do still. They may have dropped off by now. Oh yeah, there we go. So Leah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi. Would you like to just provide some background on Decrim and the initiative, and then maybe Commissioner Bowles can take it from there with his resolution?
Sure. So this Initiative 81, we actually presented to Commission 1C back in March. Since then, the campaign behind Initiative 81, Decriminalize Nature DC, successfully collected more than the threshold amount of signatures to get Initiative 81 on the ballot this upcoming election. Ended up getting over 25,000 signatures from DC voters who wanted to weigh in this November, and I guess late October with the early voting happening. And yeah, just for background, Initiative 81 would lower police priorities in regards to offenses involving plant medicines, otherwise known as entheogens, natural psychedelics, including psilocybin mushrooms, DMT-containing plants like ayahuasca, mescaline-bearing cacti, and iboga. And yeah, the commission was kind enough to offer to draft a resolution in support of the initiative. I'm happy to address any other questions about the initiative in advance of the vote, if there are any. Welcome feedback.
Thanks. Commissioner Bowles.
Yeah. So I think that this is important for the ANC to come out in favor of. Looking through the signatures, there's a lot of support amongst our neighbors for this. And I think that overall, I think it makes sense for 1C to voice support for not just decriminalization of nature, but looking at other types of reforms. Obviously, we're not the body that makes these types of things, but we are very much in our right to show support for things. And that is really where this resolution goes towards. This isn't a resolution to a council member. It isn't a resolution to an agency. It's really to show public support of Initiative 81 and to encourage the voters to vote yes. So I am completely amenable to whereas clauses, as well as more specific language in the therefore clause. I just want to make sure it makes the most sense, but also have the most votes. I think this is crucial for so many different subpopulations, and we, like many of the other things that we vote on, are trying to help folks in our neighborhood. So I think this fits in with that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And yeah, I'm open to any questions. I do know that there, John, I know that you sent me an email about this. If there, if you wanted to refresh my memory on.
I'm in full support.
Mm-hmm. One thing I'll say is that the title seems to be carried over from a prior.
You know, this is not to protect voter integrity. You know, I apologize for that. I will adjust that on the Google Doc. Apologies for that.
So commissioners, as Commissioner Bowles mentioned, this doesn't go to any agency or any DC government representative, but this puts ANC 1C on the record to publicly support Initiative 81, and it will be on the ballot on the coming general election. So, any comments from commissioners, members of the public? Commissioner Guthrie.
Yeah, I find myself in an unusual position because I'm intending to vote in favor of this measure, not the measure in front of us, the measure that will be on the ballot. I can't think of any time that the ANC has advised voters how to vote. And I'm not sure that that's an appropriate function for the ANC. I'm fully supportive of the initiative. I just think that that gets us into an area that is not really appropriate for us to be weighing in on. It's for the people who elected us to weigh in on themselves. They're the ones who are going to be voting on whether or not this initiative passes. That's my concern about it. It just doesn't feel to me like the sort of thing where we're telling a DC agency what to do. Instead, we're telling the voters what to do, and I'm just not comfortable with that.
Yeah, and if there is language, I will say I did come up to, with that in the therefore clause. Is like, okay, what do I say here? And I wasn't able to find a previous resolution that was similar. So yeah, this is something I think is new. I mean, I'm doing it because folks have asked me to, and it's something I believe in. So,
well, as I say, I don't agree with you
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the substance of it. I'm just concerned that
Is there something in, is there
maybe
a way?
there's a way that we can say in the therefore clause,
Yeah.
something that acknowledges that it is the voter's responsibility to make a determination on this, but that we are supportive of Initiative 81 and encourage our constituents to carefully consider the matter, perhaps, rather than tell them.
Yeah. I'm fine with that. Yeah. So to publicly support Initiative 81 and to, what was the specific language?
Oh, goodness. Maybe instead of publicly support, that we support the purposes behind Initiative 81 and that we encourage our residents to carefully consider the matter in the coming election. Something like that. That we're
I like the carefully consider.
Yeah, because I think it's important that we recognize that we're not the people who have the power here, the people who have the power of the voters.
Yeah, totally.
And if I might chime in, the request here was not to encourage voters either way. There was a request for public support from the commission.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and it's an unusual thing that has come forward to us. I just want to make sure that we're not overstepping ourselves, I guess.
Yeah, I'm happy to make those and take that as a friendly. And John, Damiana, Amir, if you have any other suggestions, I'm happy to do that.
No, I think Commissioner Guthrie covered that perfectly.
I think it's a good way to walk the line.
Because well, I think it's important. I like all of the stuff that you listed up above under the whereases that demonstrates the reasons to support it. And I think it's important that that information get out to the general public. It looks like there's a lot of support for this among the voting population. I haven't seen any negative stuff, which is generally what's necessary to keep something like this from passing.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, I do want to actively thank the people who were working on this campaign for their efforts to get the Board of Elections to do the right thing on numbers of signatures, how to pass signatures, how to get stuff done during this time of COVID, because I think they were very actively involved in that process and really spurred changes in the Board of Elections that are appropriate for our situation. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And I did want to note that there were at least 2 and possibly 3 residents that chimed in on the chat through the course of the meeting in support of, they said specific support of the initiative, but I would guess that also means support of the resolution speaking to the importance of the issue or whatever you guys decide.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that in the chat. Yeah, with the thoughtful changes that were just discussed, along with the change of the title, I'm good with this. Any comments from members of the public?
We should probably get a second from someone. I'm happy to second it.
So I was just gonna move that we adopt the resolution in support, and we have a second, Commissioner Guthrie. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Okay. Unanimous. And the final item for tonight is a request for an after-hours construction permit from DCRA at 1919 Connecticut Avenue. That's the Hepburn apartment building And there is someone from, is it Sean?
Yes.
Yes. Thanks, Sean, for joining us tonight. So could you tell us about the project and the work being done?
Yeah, so a mobile crane, digging and rigging, will have a mobile crane operation on T Street Northwest to hoist materials to the roof of the building. It's HVAC equipment, and they want to work on Sunday because the Secret Service said that that's when they want the work done, on Sunday. So it'll be normal hours, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we're asking for ANC's approval to get that DCRA permit.
And that's for which Sunday?
The 13th
Sunday the 13th from
of September.
to 7 p.m. And what is it with the Secret Service?
They want the work done on a Sunday as opposed to a Saturday.
I mean, why are they chiming in? That was the question.
So the actual Thomas, I guess he's not there. But the crane company, Thomas with the crane company, was supposed to be on the call to answer the questions that I couldn't. So I get, my company is hired to get the permits, and I go with the information that he gives. So he's hired, he's the crane hired by them to do the work. So they want all their work done on Sunday, and in a lot of neighborhoods, they've wanted it done overnight. And so, you know, different ANCs have given us pushback on having the work done overnight, but that's just been, I guess, their preference.
So, Thomas, you're unmuted if you have something to say about it. Okay. Thomas Simmons. So, but the work is not for overnight, right? This is a daytime work on a Sunday, just after hours, right?
Correct.
And it's a Secret Service. I mean, this is just my curiosity here. It's the Secret Service that has requested these specific day and hours?
That is my understanding.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, regardless of whether the Secret Service wants it done then, it certainly seems to me that because that is a street that is, you know, there's nothing but commercial on either side of it in that block. It seems to me that Sunday is probably the best time to be least, have least impact on folks by doing it on Sunday. You know, you've got the Universal North building and you've got the Hepburn itself. And although I'm sure there's some folks who are going to be in the Hepburn, it's to benefit them somehow. So
yeah,
seems to me like I don't see any reason to say no.
Light in traffic these days, anyhow. Okay. Questions from, it looks like Thomas, you're unmuted, Thomas. So, okay. Now, let's.
He texted me to say that he wasn't, I guess he's still muted, and he said that this work is for the Secret Service.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, as Commissioner Guthrie noted, was just a curiosity. I don't have any opposition to it, and it's my SMD. Unless any other commissioners or members of the public have anything to say, I move that we allow an after-hours permit on September the 13th for the work to be done. September the 13th, 7
Second.
So calling to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you all for joining tonight. That concludes the meeting.
Thank you, Amir.
All right. We'll see you guys